Ladies and gentlemen, today is the day to lift your eyes, open your heart, and believe in the power of miracles to transform your destiny. You are not here by accident. You are destined for greatness. The beauty of life is often hidden in the moments we do not see coming. Miracles are not confined to the pages of ancient stories or tales of long ago. They are alive and active today, ready to show up in your life when you least expect them. But here's the secret. Expecting the unexpected is about more than wishful thinking. It's a mindset, a heart posture, and a belief system that welcomes the supernatural into the natural. It's a way of living that invites divine possibilities into every corner of your existence. When we talk about expecting the unexpected, we're not just talking about random luck or chance occurrences. We are talking about the hand of God orchestrating events in your favor, lining up people, situations, and opportunities that you couldn't have dreamed up on your own. But the first step is to recognize that miracles are possible for you. Too often, we limit our expectations based on what's in front of us or what we've experienced in the past. We think that could never happen to me, or I've made too many mistakes, or the odds are stacked against me. But let me tell you something, your past does not disqualify you from your future, and your current circumstances do not define your destiny. Many people miss out on their miracle because they are too focused on what seems logical, reasonable, or achievable by their own strength. But miracles are not bound by logic. They operate in a realm far beyond human understanding. When you expect the unexpected, you step out of the confines of what you think is possible and into the limitless realm of what God can do. This doesn't mean you'll always know how or when it will happen, but it does mean you position yourself to receive. One of the greatest obstacles to expecting the unexpected is a mindset of scarcity or defeat. Maybe you've experienced disappointment and now you're afraid to hope again. Maybe you've prayed for a breakthrough, but it hasn't come in the way or time you imagined. It's easy to become weary or cynical, thinking that miracles are for someone else, not you. But I want to encourage you to shift your perspective. Start believing that the best is yet to come. Even if you've been through setbacks, even if you've faced obstacles, those challenges are not the end of your story. They are often the very setup for a divine turnaround. Think about the times in life when you were at your lowest and something unexpected changed everything. Maybe it was a kind word from a stranger, a job offer that came out of nowhere, a relationship that restored your hope. These moments may seem small, but they are evidence that unexpected blessings are already part of your life. If God could do it then, He can do it now, and He can do it at an even greater scale. But you have to be ready to receive. Being ready doesn't mean having all the answers or a perfect life. It means keeping your heart open, your faith strong, and your eyes looking ahead with anticipation. Imagine a child waiting for their favorite surprise. They don't know when or how it would come, but their excitement is contagious. That's the kind of expectancy we're called to have. Not a passive hope, but an active belief that something extraordinary is on its way. Sometimes expecting the unexpected requires you to take steps of faith, even when you can't see the outcome. It means walking into the unknown with confidence, trusting that what lies ahead is better than anything you could have planned. It might look like applying for that position you feel unqualified for, reaching out to someone you've lost contact with, or stepping out of your comfort zone in a new way. Each step of faith is a declaration that you believe miracles are possible, that you trust the one who holds your future. There's another important piece to this. Don't let the size of the miracle intimidate you. Sometimes we think our dreams or needs are too big for God to handle. But let me remind you, the God who created the universe is not limited by what limits us. He is not intimidated by the size of your need or the scope of your dream. In fact, He delights in showing up in ways that exceed your expectations. So whether you're believing for a financial breakthrough, a restored relationship, healing in your body, or clarity in your purpose, expect the unexpected. Not because of what you can do, but because of what He can do through you. Keep your faith alive, stay ready, and watch how the unexpected will become the undeniable evidence of His hand on your life. Gratitude is one of the most powerful forces we can cultivate in our lives. It is more than a polite thank you or a fleeting feeling of appreciation. It is a way of seeing the world, a mindset that shapes how we interpret our experiences and interact with the world around us. Gratitude has the power to open doors, shift atmospheres, and invite miracles into our lives in ways that are truly remarkable. When you adopt an attitude of gratitude, you begin to see that every blessing, no matter how small, is a seed for something greater. Too often we get caught up in what's missing, what's lacking, or what hasn't happened yet. It's easy to focus on the obstacles and challenges and to let those things overshadow the good that's already in front of us. But here's the truth. Whatever you magnify will grow. If you magnify your problems, they will seem bigger and more overwhelming. But if you magnify your blessings, they will begin to expand in ways you never imagined. Gratitude shifts your focus from what you don't have to what you do have. And that shift creates the perfect environment for miracles to take root. Gratitude is a choice, and it's one that we have to make daily. It's not always easy, especially in the middle of trials or disappointments, but it is always worth it. When you choose to be grateful, even in difficult times, you are making a statement of faith. You are saying, I may not see the breakthrough yet, but I am thankful for the blessings I already have. I trust that more is on the way. That kind of faith activates something powerful in the spiritual realm. It draws divine favor toward you and sets the stage for the unexpected to happen. You don't have to wait for everything in your life to be perfect before you start practicing gratitude. In fact, it's in the moments of imperfection, uncertainty, and struggle that gratitude becomes most powerful. When you can look at your circumstances and still find reasons to be thankful, you are declaring that your joy is not dependent on your situation. You are choosing to rise above the challenges and focus on the goodness of God, even when it's not immediately visible. Think about the times in your life when you were truly grateful when something wonderful happened, or when you experienced a blessing that took your breath away. What did that gratitude do for your spirit? It probably lifted you, energized you, and filled you with hope. That same energy is available to you every day when you cultivate a spirit of thankfulness. Gratitude isn't just about the big moments, it's about recognizing the beauty in the small things. It's about appreciating the sunrise, the laughter of a loved one, the roof over your head, and the strength to face another day. What many people don't realize is that gratitude is a magnet for miracles. When you are grateful for what you have, you attract more to be grateful for. It's like planting seeds in a garden. Each word of thanks is a seed that will grow and produce fruit in its season. Gratitude shifts your perspective and allows you to see opportunities and blessings that you might have overlooked otherwise. It opens your eyes to the ways God is already working in your life and prepares your heart to receive even greater things. Sometimes we wait for something extraordinary to happen before we express gratitude, but that's not how it works. Gratitude doesn't wait for the miracle. It's the miracle. It creates a fertile ground where miracles can take root and flourish. Even if you're still waiting for your breakthrough, you can start giving thanks now. Thank Him for the doors that will open, the healing that will come, and the provision that is already on its way. Your gratitude is a declaration of faith, a statement that you believe in the promises of God, even before they manifest. There's a power in speaking gratitude out loud. When you declare your thankfulness, you are not only shifting your own mindset, but also releasing a sound of faith into the atmosphere. That sound has the power to break chains, remove barriers, and invite the supernatural into your situation. It's not about denying the challenges you're facing. It's about choosing to focus on the blessings that are already present. When you live with a grateful heart, you begin to see the world differently. You start to notice blessings that you might have taken for granted. You see the hand of God in the small details of your life, and that recognition strengthens your faith. Gratitude is not about ignoring the hard times. It's about finding hope and joy in the midst of them. It's about trusting that every blessing, no matter how small, is a sign of God's goodness and a promise of more to come. Timing is everything. In life, we often find ourselves waiting, wondering, and even questioning why certain things haven't happened yet. It's easy to feel frustrated when the clock seems to be ticking and the dreams in your heart feel distant or delayed. But what we must remember is this: God's timing is always perfect. It may not align with our plans or the schedules we set for ourselves, but it is always precisely right. He knows the exact moment when the door should open, when the opportunity should arise, and when the breakthrough should occur. Waiting is one of the most challenging parts of faith because it requires trust. It requires believing that even when we don't see progress, God is still at work. It's during these seasons of waiting that we learn patience, perseverance, and the importance of leaning on Him. Often the waiting period is not just about what we're waiting for, it's about what God is doing in us while we wait. He's preparing us, shaping us, and aligning the pieces of our lives so that when the moment comes, we're ready to step into His perfect plan. We live in a world that values speed and instant gratification. We're used to getting what we want when we want it, and it can be difficult to embrace the slower divine timing of God. But there's a reason for the wait. Sometimes the delay is there to protect us from something we're not yet ready to handle. Other times it's because the blessing He has in store is so much greater than what we could have imagined, and it's taking time to prepare. If we were to receive everything we prayed for immediately, we might miss out on the depth, the growth, and the maturity that come from trusting His process. Think about the story of Joseph in the Bible. He had dreams of greatness as a young man, but those dreams didn't come to pass overnight. In fact, he faced betrayal, imprisonment, and years of uncertainty before stepping into his destiny. It would have been easy for him to give up, to believe that the delay meant God had forgotten him. But what Joseph didn't see at the time was that every setback was actually a setup. Each step of his journey was preparing him for the moment when God's timing would bring everything together perfectly. In the same way, we may not understand why things are taking so long, but that doesn't mean God isn't moving. Behind the scenes, He is orchestrating circumstances, bringing the right people into our lives, and aligning opportunities that we couldn't arrange on our own. His timing is about more than just us. It's about the bigger picture. It's about creating a ripple effect of blessings that will not only impact our lives, but also the lives of those around us. When we're in a season of waiting, it's important to remember that delay is not denial. Just because something hasn't happened yet doesn't mean it's not going to happen. Sometimes God's not yet is just as loving as His yes. He sees the end from the beginning, and He knows what's best for us. What feels like a delay to us is often a part of His divine plan, a way of ensuring that when the promise comes, it will be everything we need and more. It's also important to guard our hearts and minds during the waiting season. Doubt, frustration, and impatience can creep in, tempting us to give up on the dreams God has placed in our hearts. But instead of letting those feelings take over, we can choose to focus on His faithfulness. Reflect on the times in your life when He came through for you, even when it seemed impossible. Let those moments remind you that He has a track record of showing up at just the right time. Waiting on God's timing doesn't mean sitting idle. It means staying active in faith, continuing to trust, and preparing for what's to come. It's about being faithful in the small things, knowing that they're building blocks for the bigger blessings ahead. Sometimes the waiting period is where we find our greatest growth. It's where we learn to rely on His strength instead of our own, where our character is refined and where our faith is deepened. There's a peace that comes from trusting in His timing, a peace that surpasses understanding. It allows us to let go of the need to control everything and rest in the knowledge that He is in control. When we align ourselves with His timing, we free ourselves from the pressure of trying to make things happen on our own. We step into a flow of grace where everything falls into place exactly as it should. Trusting God's timing means believing that what He has planned for us is worth the wait. It means knowing that even when we can't see the way forward, He is already there preparing the path. It means holding on to hope even in the face of uncertainty and standing firm in the belief that His plans for us are good. The words we speak have incredible power. They are not just sounds that leave our mouths. They carry weight, they shape realities, and they influence the course of our lives. The Bible says that life and death are in the power of the tongue, and this truth applies to every area of our existence. What we say over our circumstances, over our dreams, and over our futures can determine the outcome. If we want to see miracles in our lives, we must begin by speaking words of faith, hope, and possibility. It's so easy to fall into the trap of speaking negatively about our situations. When challenges arise, when doors seem to close, or when we feel stuck, the temptation is to voice our frustrations. We say things like, "This will never work out," or "I'll never get through this," or "Nothing good ever happens to me." But those words don't just reflect how we feel in the moment. They create a mindset, a narrative that reinforces defeat and discouragement. Our words have creative power, and when we speak negatively, we're sowing seeds that produce more negativity in our lives. Instead, we must learn to speak life over our circumstances. No matter how bleak things may seem, there is always room for hope. And that hope begins with what we declare. Saying things like, "I believe something good is on the way," or "I know God is working this out for my good," or "This challenge is only temporary," shifts the atmosphere. It doesn't mean we ignore reality or pretend everything is perfect, but it does mean we choose to focus on what's possible instead of what's impossible. Speaking life is about aligning our words with God's promises rather than our problems. It's about declaring what we believe, even when we don't see it yet. Faith isn't just about what we feel, it's about what we say. When we declare that healing is coming, that provision is on its way, or that restoration is possible, we are exercising our faith. Those words of faith are like seeds planted in fertile soil, and in time they will bear fruit. Think about the power of a positive declaration. When you say, "I'm blessed," you are not only reminding yourself of God's goodness, but also inviting more blessings into your life. When you declare, "I am strong," you are reinforcing the strength that's already within you. These declarations are not just motivational, they are transformational. They change the way you see yourself, the way you approach challenges, and the way you respond to life's ups and downs. It's important to be intentional about the words we speak, especially in moments of doubt or difficulty. When we feel like giving up, that's the time to declare, "I am an overcomer." When we face obstacles that seem insurmountable, that's the time to say, "With God, all things are possible." These statements are not just affirmations, they are declarations of truth that remind us of who we are and who God is. Our words also have the power to influence others. When we speak life, we not only build ourselves up, but also encourage those around us. Imagine the impact of telling someone, "I believe in you," or "You have what it takes," or "I see greatness in you." Those words can spark hope, reignite dreams, and inspire action. Just as negative words can tear down, positive words can build up. When we choose to speak life, we become a source of light and encouragement for others. One of the keys to speaking life is being mindful of what we allow into our hearts and minds. The Bible says that out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. If we fill our hearts with negativity, doubt, and fear, that's what will come out of our mouths. But if we fill our hearts with God's promises, with gratitude and with faith, our words will naturally reflect that. This is why it's so important to guard what we listen to, what we focus on, and what we allow to influence us. Another important aspect of speaking life is persistence. It's easy to declare positive things when life is going well, but it takes real faith to keep speaking life when circumstances seem to contradict your declarations. That's when our words become a true act of faith. It's about standing firm in your belief, even when the evidence hasn't yet caught up. It's about saying, I trust God's plan, even when you can't see the full picture. Speaking life isn't a one-time event. It's a daily practice. It's a commitment to align your words with God's truth and to declare His promises over every area of your life. It's about creating a habit of faith-filled speech that becomes second nature so that even in the toughest moments, your default response is one of hope and possibility. When you consistently speak life, you create an environment where miracles can happen. Your words set the stage for God to move in ways that exceed your expectations. Doubt is one of the most common challenges we face in life, especially when we're believing for something big, something extraordinary. It creeps in subtly, questioning our faith, undermining our confidence, and trying to convince us that what we're hoping for is impossible. But doubt is not just a feeling, it's a barrier. It blocks the flow of blessings, dims the light of hope, and stands in the way of miracles. That's why letting go of doubt is not just important, it's essential. To experience the fullness of what God has in store, we must replace fear with faith and choose to believe, even when the odds seem stacked against us. Doubt often stems from focusing too much on what we can see and understand. We look at our circumstances, the challenges we face, and the obstacles in our path, and we let them dictate what we believe is possible. But faith operates in a completely different realm. It's not based on what we see, it's based on what we know to be true about God. Faith says, I may not understand how this will work out, but I trust the one who does. It's a decision to shift our focus from the size of our problem to the greatness of our God. One of the first steps to letting go of doubt is to recognize its source. Doubt often whispers lies that sound like truth. You're not good enough, this will never change, or it's too late for you. These thoughts are not from God. They are meant to discourage and derail you. God's promises are always filled with hope, possibility, and assurance. When doubt tries to take root in your mind, you have the power to reject it and replace it with the truth of His Word. Another way to overcome doubt is to remind yourself of what God has already done in your life. Think back to the times when He came through for you, when He opened doors you couldn't have opened on your own, when He provided exactly what you needed at the perfect time. Those moments are proof of His faithfulness, and they serve as reminders that if He did it before, He can do it again. Doubt loses its grip when you choose to focus on His track record of goodness and provision. It's also important to surround yourself with voices of faith. The people you spend time with, the conversations you engage in, and the messages you listen to all have an impact on your mindset. If you're constantly hearing negativity or skepticism, it's much harder to hold on to faith. But when you surround yourself with people who believe in you, who encourage you, and who remind you of God's promises, your faith grows stronger. You begin to see possibilities instead of limitations, and your confidence in what God can do increases. Letting go of doubt doesn't mean you'll never feel uncertain. Faith is not the absence of doubt, it's the decision to trust God in spite of it. There will be moments when doubt tries to creep back in, but you can choose to stand firm in your belief. You can say, I may not see the way forward, but I know God is making a way. You can declare, this situation looks impossible, but with God, all things are possible. These declarations of faith are not just words. They are weapons that dismantle doubt and reinforce your trust in God. Another powerful tool in letting go of doubt is prayer. When you're feeling uncertain, take those doubts to God. Be honest about your struggles and ask Him to strengthen your faith. Prayer is not just a ritual, it's a conversation with the one who has the power to change your situation. As you pray, you'll find that your perspective begins to shift. Doubt starts to fade and faith rises in its place. Sometimes doubt persists because we're looking for guarantees. We want to know exactly how things will work out before we take a step of faith. But that's not how faith works. Faith often requires stepping out before we see the full picture, trusting that God will guide us along the way. It's about taking the first step, even when you don't know what the second step looks like. When you trust Him with the unknown, you give Him the opportunity to show up in ways that exceed your expectations. Letting go of doubt involves embracing the truth that you are not in this alone. God is with you every step of the way, working on your behalf, orchestrating details you can't even see. His plans for you are good, and His power is limitless. When you remind yourself of His presence and His promises, doubt begins to lose its hold. You realize that the same God who created the universe is the one who is fighting for you. And that truth fills you with a bold, unshakable confidence. One of the most beautiful truths about life is that our past does not define our future. No matter where you've been, no matter what you've done, or what has been done to you, there is always the possibility of a fresh start, a new beginning. Too often, people get stuck in the mistakes of yesterday or the pain of past experiences, allowing those moments to dictate the course of their lives. But the good news is this: your destiny is not tied to your history. Miracles have the power to rewrite your story, to transform what was meant for harm into something extraordinary. Many of us carry the weight of past failures. We replay the times we've fallen short, the opportunities we've missed, and the decisions we regret. It's easy to let those moments define us, to believe the lie that we are nothing more than the sum of our mistakes. But that's not how God sees us. He looks at us and sees potential, not the problems. He sees purpose, not the pain. He is not limited by our past. In fact, He specializes in turning what seems broken into something beautiful. It's important to realize that holding on to the past only keeps us from stepping into the future. When we dwell on what went wrong, we build walls around our hearts that block out hope and possibility. But when we let go, when we choose to release the mistakes and the pain, we make room for something new. Letting go doesn't mean we forget. It means we no longer allow the past to control us. It means we trust that God can use even the worst moments of our lives for good. One of the greatest challenges in moving forward is forgiving ourselves. We can be our harshest critics, holding on to guilt and shame long after God has forgiven us. But here's the truth: if God in His infinite grace has wiped the slate clean, who are we to hold on to what He has already let go? Forgiveness is not just something we extend to others. It's a gift we must give ourselves. When we forgive ourselves, we break free from the chains of self-condemnation and step into the freedom that God has already provided. It's also important to recognize that the opinions of others do not define who we are or what we're capable of. People may try to label you based on your past, to remind you of your mistakes, or to tell you what you can or cannot do. But their words do not determine your worth or your destiny. Only God has the authority to define you, and He says you are loved, chosen, and capable of greatness. When you stop listening to the voices of doubt and start listening to the voice of truth, you'll find the courage to step into the future with confidence. Your past is not a prison, it's a platform. Every experience, every mistake, and every challenge has shaped you, taught you, and prepared you for what's ahead. God doesn't waste anything. Even the moments you wish you could erase have a purpose. They are part of your story, but they are not the final chapter. What matters most is not where you've been, but where you're going. When you shift your focus from the rearview mirror to the road ahead, you'll begin to see new possibilities and opportunities that were always there, waiting for you to take hold of them. Think about the people who have experienced incredible transformations. Stories of redemption and renewal are all around us. People who have overcome addiction, rebuilt their lives after devastating losses, or found purpose in the wake of tragedy. These stories remind us that change is always possible and that no situation is beyond the reach of God's power. What these individuals share in common is a willingness to believe that their past does not have the final say. They chose to embrace hope, to take steps of faith, and to trust that something better was waiting for them. Moving forward also requires us to focus on the promises of God. He has plans for us, plans to prosper us, to give us hope, and to secure our future. Those promises are not limited by our past. They are rooted in His love and faithfulness. When you align yourself with His promises, you begin to see the potential for miracles in every area of your life. You realize that the same God who parted the seas, healed the sick, and raised the dead is the one who is working on your behalf, ready to turn your past into a testimony of His grace. There's a power in declaring what you believe about your future. Instead of saying, "I've made too many mistakes," you can say, "My best days are still ahead." Instead of thinking, "I've lost too much," you can declare, "God is restoring everything I've lost." These declarations are not just words. They are acts of faith that align your mindset with the possibilities that God has for you. When you speak life over your future, you create an atmosphere where miracles can take place. Transformation begins with a decision. It's a decision to let go of what was and embrace what could be. It's about trusting that no matter how far you fall and no matter how many wrong turns you've made, God's grace is sufficient to guide you back to the path He has prepared for you. You don't have to have it all figured out. You just have to take the first step. In conclusion, ladies and gentlemen, remember that your past does not define your future. Miracles are not bound by your history. They have the power to transform your life in ways you can't imagine. By letting go of doubt, speaking life over your circumstances, and trusting in God's perfect timing, you create space for His miracles to unfold. The best is yet to come, and with faith, perseverance, and hope, your destiny is within reach. Embrace the future with confidence, knowing that God's plans for you are greater than anything you could have ever dreamed.